Hello everyone, I hope we're all having a wonderful day. I know I am. I'm going to be showing you a painting that I did yesterday. This is a painting of my wife. She had just gotten a new haircut and was feeling good about it, and also a little bummed, so I decided to paint her really rock star looking. So some of you might have been noticing that I don't spend a whole lot of time on the drawing process of my paintings. I used to spend a lot more time and do a nice line art and then leave the line art on a top layer. And that looks pretty good, and I like when people do it, but I'm trying to move into a more painterly looking style rather than an anime or fantasy style. So I have chosen to just use the line art and the drawing to just kind of give me a rough estimate of where everything's gonna be, and then I'll move the drawing around and try and get it oriented as best as I can. You'll see I tweak it after I start painting, but this is just kind of a rough starting point. And after that, I just lay in some quick colors. I try and lay out every color that I'm planning on using, and I'll kind of have a semi-shadow highlight area where I put them, but I'm not too concerned about it in the beginning. With a portrait, as I'm sure you can see, I will typically start with the eyes and the forehead and that whole area. This is probably because I have the hardest time with the eyes, and that whole area kind of gives a person what their look. It's a big part of their look, and if you mess it up, then you can't tell who you're painting. So I'll try and get it as close as I can. I'll always go back and tweak it a little bit later, but I get it near to where it wants to be before I move on to anything else, because I know that if I can't get this initial step right, then the whole painting's just gonna fall apart afterwards. And it could be my OCD, but I have to get it done first. I will then move on to the mouth and get that near finished. I'm not quite as concerned about it, and I will come back to the mouth later. I usually do. And then I will move into the ear and then kind of just give the rest of it a quick shading and coloring. And then no matter what kind of painting I'm doing, if it's of a person, I always leave the hands for last. The hands are really tricky. They're hard to get right. But unlike the face, they're not quite as important to get perfect. So I'll save it to the end of the painting portion just to, I'll spend whatever time I'm going to give myself left on the hands if I have to. But they're not quite as important, so if they don't come out perfect, then I'm not as worried about it. And as you can see, you can nitpick on the hands forever. There are so many little muscles and bones in the hands that you can just go to town on them. So when I started out on this painting, I was going to get to here and leave it, but I got to this point and I really didn't like the background at all. I'd planned I was just going to touch up the hair a little bit and call it good. But I was looking at it as I was doing the hair, and it just didn't look complete to me. And so I decided to do something I've never really done before, and you'll have to excuse my crude attempt at some graffiti-like lettering. But I do think for a first attempt at it, I thought it came out pretty good. And so my wife is currently starting a church called the Church of the Crow Witch. It's a Facebook page, and she has a bunch of people joining. And so I decided to put a saying that sounded like it could go from there in the background. And then I did a bunch of birds in the background as well. So normally I wouldn't copy and paste things, but seeing as these are just letters, I'd rather just save the time and just copy and paste them. So I was looking at a bunch of references of graffiti, and the ones I liked all had a gradient in the lettering. So I chose to do a red, yellow gradient kind of deal. And then I just kind of tried to duplicate the same kind of outline and stuff like that I'd seen. I was not using spray paint or a brush that's even like spray paint, so I can only do so much. This might be something I explore in the future. I kind of like the way graffiti looks, and it might be interesting to learn a style that kind of looks like graffiti, so I might do this more often. And I finished it all up with some bird silhouettes in the background, and then changed the opacity slightly so it blended with the background a little bit better. And then this was when I kind of noticed that it still didn't look right in the background, so I decided to put a cloudy sky. And just to save myself some time and a little bit of headache, I decided to make a semi kind of masked area. That's what you're seeing with the purple color there. And then I just filled in cloud-like shapes around it and tried to just kind of add some interest to it. And after finishing the background, I go around and touch up little bits here and there that look weird now that the background's in there. I really like how this all came together, and I hope you did as well. If you enjoyed this video or any of the videos that I've done, I sure would appreciate it if you would like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that you hear all the time. That's my baby in the background. She is having a wonderful day, and I hope you do as well. Goodbye.